This story begins on the tracks of a train, where we meet our protagonist, a university student named Loon. He frequently watches a certain purple-haired girl named Shinai, though at this moment he does not know her name. Later, she will mention it to him. Loon tells us that he always sees this girl on the train tracks. Like every day at this time, he finds her there, sometimes with different styles of clothing. As usual, both take the midnight train. Their encounters on the tracks feel like a routine. A few minutes pass and our protagonist does not exchange a single word with her. Seeing the instrument she carries, he wonders if she studies music or perhaps is in a band. The girl instantly realizes he is watching her. They make eye contact. Lost in thought, he keeps staring at her. Though they often meet, he is the only one aware of it. He knows such occurrences are mere coincidences, not destiny. Since he cannot concentrate on his reading, he decides to listen to some music, perhaps Darker Planet by Long Afternoon. When he starts playing the song, the introduction captivates him, as always. No matter how many times he hears it, the first verse remains too good. Despite being a great song, it is largely unknown. I wish I had someone to talk to about this song every afternoon, he thinks, but something feels off. The music is too low. Surely his Bluetooth headphones are malfunctioning. He turns up the volume to the maximum. At that moment, Shinai interrupts him, surprising our protagonist. She asks him to lower the volume of his phone since she can hear everything from her bench. Instantly, he realizes his headphones were disconnected. Having heard the music, she asks if he likes that song. To his astonishment, she also likes the band Long Afternoon. Loon is excited to know that this girl shares his taste. Since he is a big fan of the band's songwriter, he cannot believe he has found someone with the same passion. She seems to feel the same way. The music is great, yet the artist is independent with few fans. His lack of promotion and limited presence on social media makes it difficult for his music to spread. Loon agrees. If only the singer held a concert, videos would be made and the music would gain traction. However, he only posts drawings of his original character, Yukin, on Instagram. Shinai asks if he truly believes the singer should reveal his face. Loon answers, not necessarily. While he would like to meet the artist and is curious about his personality, he respects his decision to focus on creating. The mystery surrounding the artist is part of his charm. Shinai then mentions that she has noticed him before. Nervously, Loon feigns uncertainty. Should he pretend he has never seen her before? If he admits otherwise, she will know he has been watching her. When the train arrives, Shinai directly states that she has always seen him staring at her. Her words strike Loon like gunshots to the chest. Impossible! She knows he has been observing her all this time, and that they have taken the same train together. The next day at work, Loon is hysterical. He feels doomed. His 39-year-old boss, Yu, asks what is wrong. Did the business receive a low rating? Loon asks for advice. What if she thinks I'm a stalker or a pervert? His boss is confused, but soon understands. She reassures him that it is nothing to worry about. If Shinai truly felt uncomfortable, she would have avoided the station long ago. Yu advises that if he is concerned, he should speak with her directly next time. Who knows? A romance might even develop. Loon immediately dismisses the idea. Why not? His boss asks. You've seen her several times, there's nothing wrong with that. Loon insists he is too busy preparing for graduation, working, and earning money for rent. His curiosity about Shinai stems merely from their repeated encounters. He just wants to ask who she is and what she does. Yu reminds him that romance often starts with curiosity. Loon refuses to accept this, saying he would be content if they were just friends, someone with whom he could share his musical tastes. His boss repeats, that's how relationships begin. Lin denies it again. Their discussion ends as an order arrives and they work until midnight. As they finish, Loon wonders if Shinai will take the last train as usual. If he sees her, he plans to apologize for staring and clarify things so she doesn't think he is a weirdo. He also hopes to have a meaningful conversation about Long Afternoon. At the station, he finds a homeless man sleeping on the bench where he usually sits. Annoyed, he realizes he won't be able to sit near Shinai to start a casual conversation. Since forcing an interaction would be awkward, he decides to stand, but just for today. At that moment, she asks if he plans to stand while waiting for the train. He replies that there are no more seats. She points out the empty space beside her. You can sit freely until the train arrives. Loon hesitates. He recalls that she once did something similar in the past, which led them to become closer. It gave him a strange feeling back then, but that was in the past. Right now, it's the present. As he sits, she asks if he always gets home late. Observing that he frequently takes the midnight train, she assumes he works night shifts. Loon explains that he works at a coffee shop and sometimes finishes late. Shinai seems intrigued by his job and asks if he also attends university. He confirms that he is in his 4th year. She notes that he must be quite busy juggling job applications and studies. Curious, Loon asks if she also works late. She replies, not exactly. I just like talking to guys with peculiar tastes before heading home. Loon is caught off guard. Peculiar tastes? Is she referring to something suspicious? She smirks and clarifies. She means music. She works at a music studio with rehearsal and recording rooms. Many office bands book it late at night, and as the studio manager, she often stays up. Realizing she was referring to music, Loon pauses. She teases him, asking if he was thinking of something weird. Flustered, he denies it. Hard, right? She jokes, referring to the musical genre. He quickly defends himself. This girl is totally messing with him, leading him into half-deviant conversations with ease. Shenai then asks how he discovered Long Afternoon, considering how busy he is with work and studies. Loon recalls the time he first encountered the band. It was a coincidence. One day, he was bedridden with the flu. Living alone, he had no one to take care of him, so he lay in silence. Feeling lonely, he decided to play some music to lift his spirits. He searched randomly and stumbled upon the band's music, changing his life forever. It was right there that he came across that band, Dark Planet by Long Afternoon. At first, he just thought that the melody was good, but the more he listened to it, the more he fell in love with it, especially the lyrics, which seemed to take everything, with lines like, "Let it be." He asked the girl, "What is your favorite song from Long Afternoon?" Although the singer doesn't have too many songs, at least one should be liked by her. She answers that she also likes Dark Planet. The song Deal Flow is also good. Upon hearing this, he mentions that that song is fantastic, especially the part where the rhythm changes after the chorus. The singer seems to be brilliant at using electronic instruments. She agrees. The train arrives at the tracks. Seems they are already a bit late. What she said a while ago about "Let It Be," maybe if the singer had heard something like that, she would be happy. The protagonist turns red, thinking that that could happen. He would like to talk to her a little more. It's not about a date or being closer, he would just wish to continue speaking of things they both like. The main character introduces himself as Ji-jun and wants to know her name. She also introduces herself as Shy. Now that she knows his name, she wants him to make sure to say hello to her the next time they see each other. If he doesn't, she'll ignore him for life. The main character says that he hopes to see her again soon. Later, at Shy's apartment, she finishes taking her bath. She sits on the bed and has a memory of that boy from the train a long time ago. While she was taking the train, she noticed the wallet that the man in the green jacket had dropped. If the wallet was left there, it could be stolen. The main character took it and put it in the man's pocket, and then sat down. He could have just left it nearby, but he put it in his pocket. If something went wrong, he could have been mistaken for a pickpocket. He's quite naive, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a good person. He doesn't think too much before showing his kindness. She knew that our main character was kind, but she didn't expect him to be a fan of Long Afternoon. Especially, she didn't expect him to be the passionate fan type. She starts to think a little. She wonders if he would still like the band if he knew that she is Long Afternoon. Or maybe he's the same as those girls who hurt her in her past. It is a deep wound that she cannot forget. And just remembering this scared and upset her at the same time. She is thinking again about something that she does not want to remember. It is very annoying. However, the people who like her music simply like it because it is music. That does not mean that they like her. She does not have to reveal that she is the singer. As long as she continues making good music, it does not matter if Uki, the cartoon of her profile, steals the cameras. It is fine if she just continues being herself. As long as she can continue doing what she loves, everything is fine. The next day, we are in Shy's music studio. She was drawing the new image of her character to upload it on her Instagram. At that moment, some boys finished their shift in the music room. Shy asked them if they left the room empty. They answered yes. The boy with the guitar wanted to make a reservation for next week at the same time, but besides that, he wanted to have her number or her Instagram user for a long time to send him a message. Thinking about it a bit, she apologizes to the guy. He ended up looking ridiculous after having done that. She mentions that it's time to clean. She enters the music room and starts vacuuming the floor. Shy's uncle arrives at that moment. He had a rehearsal today. His name is Shin Hong Zong. He is the studio manager and a sound engineer, but apart from that, he asked her why she rejected that boy who asked for her number. Shy asked him not to watch her secretly. Her uncle tells her that he wasn't spying on her, he just saw him by accident. But going back to the main thing, why didn't she give him her number? Did she not find him attractive? She answers that she doesn't like to talk on the phone, she can't see his face if it's a message or a call, and what is more important, she doesn't like the style of that boy's band. But there is something important that she has to tell him. The recording reservation at PM was cancelled, so she can clean this up and go home for today. He will take care of the rest himself. It is already late at night. That is great. Today, she will be able to work on new songs at home. But before she leaves, her uncle gives her a gift. Today is Valentine's Day, and since her uncle is considerate, he bought this for her on the way here. She should eat it with coffee while she works on her songs. People were going crazy over this sweet a while ago. Shania wants to ask her uncle for something. She wants to play the guitar a little before he leaves. Her uncle had no problem with it. On the other hand, in the cafeteria, the main character tells his boss that he is leaving. He should be careful when he gets home and have a good romantic trip back home. The main character continues denying that that won't happen. He reaches the train station and takes a seat. He was supposed to improve his language grades on vacation, but he is still struggling with it. At that moment, Shy appears on the scene. They both greet each other, but there is something that our main character comes to notice. She is carrying a gift with her. Shy told him that she got it for Valentine's Day. In a few words, someone had given her a gift. Surely Shy must be popular. She was attractive and had style. She must have a lot of cool people around her and received many gifts all the time. Of course, the main character shouldn't worry about it. It's not like they knew each other well enough to say anything about it. She realized he was studying hard, so to help him regain energy, she told him to eat the sweet. Things were good when one needed to think. He asked her why she gave it to him. Hadn't someone else given it to her? Shai mentioned that she didn't like sweets. If she took it home, she would only end up throwing it away. That's why she wanted him to take it. He initially refused, seeing it as unethical to accept a gift someone else had given her. Hearing this, she explained that she received it from her uncle. What was he thinking? Did he think another boy had given it to her? Now she was disappointed. The main character realized the misunderstanding, diverted the conversation, and took the gift. He asked if they were chocolates. She told him she hadn't tried them yet, so she didn't know. But the candy was handmade, and she heard they were popular. The next day at Lee's apartment, he was still asleep. His alarm rang. It felt like he had only slept 30 minutes, but it was already morning. He wondered what to eat and remembered the candy Shai gave him. Maybe he could try one. Eating just one candy was too sweet. It woke up his sleeping brain. It worked well. Now he could start his day. At that moment, he received a notification on his phone. Long Afternoon had posted on Instagram, "Already at night, Lee Jun is in charge of serving his clients at work with great enthusiasm and energy. His boss sees him quite animated today. She asked him if something good happened to him. He answers that his favorite musician updated his Instagram. Finally posted something after years. Considering his career until now, he could release a new song soon. He wonders what kind of song it will be this time. Just imagining it excites him quite a bit. The boss, knowing what it was, says that's why he thought something romantic had happened. The protagonist does not understand what he means. His boss thought that he had progressed with the girl he met on the train. The protagonist answers, not at all. It's not as if he liked her or something. But still, if they both see each other often, at least he should get closer to her. The main character answers that none of that will happen. Besides, he hasn't even seen her the last few days. But now that he thought about it, they have both gotten a little closer to each other recently. They already know each other's names, and he also gave her candy on Valentine's Day. The boss hears this, gets excited, and asks the main character to tell him how it all happened. He wants him to describe all the details. He answers that they only asked each other's names. The boss is already making a half-exaggerated scene in her head. And what happened next? He invited her out as a thank you? Or maybe to get a drink? The boss asks eagerly. The main character replies that he wouldn't disappoint, but the boss finds it boring. If he had gone further, it could have become a story that she would use as an anecdote tonight. The main character says that his personal life can't be an anecdote for the boss. However, if she wants, she can share an interesting story. The main character doesn't want to listen to it at that moment. Just then, someone asks him for an order. This person wants a cappuccino to go. The protagonist takes his order and the boy takes a seat. He feels like he has seen that person somewhere before. He wonders who he is. His boss asks him what's wrong. He tells her that the customer looked familiar. The boss mentions that the person is Sun Hunji, 28 years old. His real name is River Zung. He is an independent singer and songwriter. The protagonist is shocked. What is such an important person like him doing here? The boss explains that he is a regular customer and has been coming to the cafe for a while. At first, she didn't know who he was, but one of her customers told her. Now the protagonist understands why he looked familiar. The most attractive musician of the moment is a frequent customer of this cafe. That's great. After that, Hunji gets into his car and checks his phone. He is interested in the Long Afternoon band. He writes interesting songs, has a unique style, and maintains a mysterious image. He decides to send a direct message to the band to schedule a meeting and collaborate. Meanwhile, the protagonist finishes his work schedule. He is excited to meet Shai because he wants to talk about all the clues he found in the new publication of Long Afternoon. Talking about what he likes is the best feeling in the world. When he gets to the tracks, he doesn't find her in her usual seat. He hasn't seen her since Love and Friendship Day. Maybe she's busy, or her work schedule has changed, or perhaps she's avoiding him because of how he reacted when he received her gift. Maybe he had high hopes for nothing. At that moment, Shai appears and asks him why he looks so disappointed. Her presence surprises the protagonist. It has been a while. He thought he wouldn't see her today either. Shai asks if he is disappointed because he couldn't see her. The protagonist hesitates but answers something like that. Today there's something different about her. Maybe it's because... Wait, are you drunk? He asks. She answers yes. She went to a bar alone before coming to the tracks. She recently finished something she was working on, so she wanted to celebrate a little. The protagonist thinks that's great and asks her what she was working on. She smiles and answers, "That's a secret." Her drunk version is more tender, and she looks really beautiful, but this is not the time to think about that. He needs to concentrate and change the subject. He asks if she saw the new post from Long Afternoon. He was going to tell her more, but the train arrives. It's too early. He doesn't even have time to say half of what he wanted to discuss. Now, they'll have to postpone the conversation for another time. He doesn't know what to do now. He wanted to talk to her so much. If he waits too long, the excitement will fade and he'll have nothing left to say. He has to say something now. Then, Shai asks him if he wants to have some drinks with her. This proposal is sudden, considering how late it is. Thinking about it for a moment, the protagonist realizes his words might be misunderstood. He doesn't want to seem like someone who invites just anyone for a drink. He quickly apologizes to Shai, but she ends up accepting his proposal. For some reason, he doesn't want this conversation to end. They take the train and sit together. Every time the subway shakes, his shoulder bumps into hers. He's getting too excited. Maybe it's because it's been a long time since he had drinks with someone. Shai asks where he lives. He answers near Nung Station. She suggests drinking around that area. He asks how she plans to get home after drinking. She says she'll take a taxi. He thinks he'll pay for it later, but she insists it's not necessary. In the end, the protagonist will pay for the drinks. However, if she gets really drunk, he'll have to take care of her. She jokes that when she's drunk, she sleeps naked. That makes him nervous, but she laughs, saying it was just a joke. They both get off the train. Shai asks if this is his neighborhood. He answers yes, saying his apartment is 5 minutes from the station. They go to a nearby bar, but it's closed. It's been a long time since he last came here. He tries to find another place, but he rarely goes out for drinks, so he doesn't know many bars. He doesn't want to ruin this outing. Noticing this, Shai comes up with an idea. Since it's too late, the only place they can drink is at his apartment. The protagonist refuses at first, but in the end, they arrive at his place. It's pretty clean. Thankfully, he cleaned last week. Shai suddenly asks if he has a girlfriend. He is taken aback and asks why. She explains that she doesn't want to cause any misunderstandings. The protagonist assures her that he's single. That's for the best then, she says. We can relax. Then she asks if he thinks she has a boyfriend. He hesitates. Shai laughs and says she has someone, Liam, a sharp-tongued singer. The protagonist is surprised. Then it's wrong for us to drink here, isn't it? He asks. Shai laughs again. I was just joking. Liam is the main vocalist of the band Wasses. I thought you knew enough about music to get the joke. The protagonist sighs in relief. They toast. No one will get hurt tonight, Shai says. The protagonist asks again, so, do you really not have a boyfriend? She shakes her head. No, I don't. After a few drinks, they start talking about Long Afternoon's new post. Shai analyzes the clues and predicts the new song will be released in April. She suggests the use of a ukulele or guitar. The protagonist is thrilled and asks if she's excited too. She nods. I already finished recording the song, she admits, but I wasn't planning to release it in April. Maybe I should hurry and sign the distribution contract now. They continue talking. At one point, Shai lies down on the bed, saying she'll listen while resting. The protagonist warns her that she'll fall asleep. She shrugs. That's fine. She then asks if she can stay the night. He hesitates. Are you serious? She nods. Unless you don't want me to. He gets nervous but agrees. She suddenly unbuttons her pants. The protagonist panics. What are you doing? She laughs. Relax. I drank beer. My stomach is bloated. He sighs, relieved. He offers her some sportswear to change into. As he goes to the store to buy more drinks, she asks him to pick up something for her. She's on her period and didn't bring anything. She'll pay him later. He goes to the store and starts selecting. He had to buy some pads for Shania. She had never purchased one before, so she didn't know which was which. Anyway, she would only buy one. While looking at the products, he notices some contraceptives. Maybe that's what Shania sent him to buy. Maybe he is going crazy. It would be a lie to say that he isn't thinking about having intimate moments with her. Shinja is very attractive and a wonderful person. That is precisely why he needs to stay composed. He shouldn't rush things carelessly. He doesn't want to be rejected again like last time, especially because his feelings were too overwhelming. Just seeing Shai taking the last train makes him happy. If Shania takes the lead that night, maybe he'll buy it. There is no reason to refuse. Just imagining it, he can't stand up anymore. He returns to his apartment and enters the room, realizing that Shania had fallen asleep. She looks quite relaxed, but he asks her to wake up for a second. He then covers her with the sheets, knowing that if not, she might catch the flu. Suddenly, she grabs him by the neck. The protagonist asks her to wait a moment, and she laughs, telling him that he is very handsome, completely her type. This makes him extremely nervous. At that moment, she falls asleep again. She was sleep-talking. The sheet almost falls off her. Her breath is close to his face. He almost loses his mind. He barely manages to control himself. He falls asleep on the couch. If she had hugged him, he wouldn't have been able to push her away. Even though they are both drunk, the protagonist's feelings are intense, and he can't suppress them. The next morning, he wakes up with a headache. He wonders where Shai is. Surely she is in the bathroom. Then, he notices something, a note that Shai left for him. Seeing him sleeping soundly, she didn't want to wake him. She left early and said they could use what he bought for her on another occasion. She even tidied up the beer cans he had bought at the store. However, there weren't just beer cans in the bag. He had also bought condoms. He doesn't remember purchasing them, but maybe that night he thought he might need them. Now he regrets it. Surely Shai has seen them. Now she will think he is a pervert, someone who just wanted a one-night fling. That night, the protagonist takes the train and meets Shania. She sees him and smiles. He greets her as well. There is something they both need to discuss. The protagonist takes his seat, unsure of what to say. He wants to make up a story to escape this awkward situation. He imagines telling her he bought the condoms for a school project about sex education, or that he picked them up by accident while shopping for vitamins. He knows that won't work. It would be pathetic and dishonest. It's better to be truthful about what he was thinking at that moment. He is about to explain when she stops him. She wants to speak first. The protagonist agrees. She tells him that she has been thinking about something for a while. She plans to keep some distance from him. He asks why. She explains that she doesn't feel any tension when she is around him, especially the last time. Even though she was drunk, maybe it's because when she was younger she spent time with her uncle's bandmates, talking a lot about music. She thinks she played around with the protagonist without much thought, and without realizing it, crossed the line. So for now she needs to put some distance between them. He asks if it's because of the condoms. She laughs and says that she wasn't offended at all. Given the atmosphere that night, these things happen at parties. But she never thought the protagonist would consider a one-night stand. He apologizes, assuring her that he had no such intention. She understands perfectly, it's not a big deal. However, there is something else. The protagonist asks what? Shy sighs. She tells him that she was unbearable. What does she mean? That night, she entered someone's apartment uninvited just to borrow clothes, shamelessly slept in the bed while the host had to take the couch. Everything she did was inconsiderate. No wonder she understands now. She was so drunk and excited that she didn't even notice at the time, but when she woke up she felt terrible. That's why she left without saying goodbye and apologizes for that. The protagonist is surprised. Shai has always been cool and confident, as if she didn't care what others thought of her, but now seeing her feeling ashamed and apologizing is unexpected. That side of her is adorable. He tries to hold back his laughter. Anyway, she wants to keep a certain distance because of the reckless things she did. If she stays close to him, something similar might happen again. Maybe she won't come to this station for a while. For the protagonist, that's unacceptable. He steps closer to her. She asks why. He tells her that Long Afternoon is releasing a new song soon and he wants to discuss it with her, especially her. But if she stays close to him, she might act carelessly again. It could be even worse next time. The protagonist reassures her, it's okay, he can handle her mischievous and wild jokes. He asks her never to leave his side. The next train is about to arrive, so next time she'll buy the snacks, and when she gets back home, they'll drink together again. That sounds good. She tells the protagonist to save what he bought last time until then, she might need it soon. Remembering, the protagonist wonders if she means the condoms. She clarifies that she means the beer, of course. She doesn't want him to get the wrong idea. Shania arrives at her apartment and takes off her jacket. She feels relieved that the protagonist wasn't upset. She was worried he would hate her, but instead he accepted her for who she is. Still, the memories of that night won't fade. She doesn't know why she acted like that. She must have seemed like a pervert. If she hadn't fallen asleep that night, maybe something would have happened. Just thinking about it makes her blush. It's silly to dwell on it now. She needs to compose the melody she recorded in the practice room. Just then, she receives a direct message. She wonders if it's really from the official account. The sender is Shunji. He wants to propose a collaboration. The next day, she plays her guitar with her favorite pick. After finishing, she starts thinking about Shunji's message. A collaboration sounds fun. Her uncle interrupts, asking if she has finished practicing. She replies that she's almost done. He invites her to eat ultra-spacey food. As they eat, she tells him about the collaboration offer. Her uncle encourages her. It's a great opportunity. However, she hesitates. She worries about being in the spotlight. Her uncle understands. He hopes she can overcome her past hurt and carve her own path. She is incredibly talented. Maybe meeting with Shunji will help her decide. After work, she reflects. Seeing an advertisement, she wonders how celebrities handle fame. How much courage does it take to withstand pressure? Arriving at the station, she sees the protagonist smiling. She asks what he's doing. He's practicing for his employment program. A natural smile makes a good impression. She wants to test him. She will be the interviewer, and he must maintain eye contact while answering questions. It's simple. If he looks away, he fails. Though embarrassed, he agrees. She has never seen him so serious. Imagining him in a suit excites her. Lost in thought, she forgets to ask a question. Then she asks, "When was your last kiss?" What kind of question is that? She tells him that those questions can become important in interviews. The protagonist tells her that this rather seems like a game. It is quite dull. He is disqualified. Then he will report the company to the Ministry of Employment. At the end of the interview, Shania gives him something valuable. It was a lucky charm, the pick of her electric guitar. If he carries it with him, he will not make any mistakes, since it contains the energy that he puts into his practice. If he keeps it with him, he will do well in the interview. The main character thanks her and she becomes joyful. On the other hand, in Honey's music studio, he receives a message. When checking, he realizes that it was from Long Afternoon. First, he will do an interview before starting the collaboration. The next day, Shai arrives at the building where she will meet with Shania. She smiles and greets him, introducing herself as the singer Honey. It must have been difficult to find the way. She answers that using Google Maps, she arrived instantly. Hun asks why she came alone. He thought she would come with her band. She answers that the other members only help her with the recording of arrangements. In a few words, she is an independent singer. Her friends have separate activities in other places. Hun understands. He wants her to follow him so that both of them can talk comfortably. She asks him his name. He introduces himself as Shinai. She can call him whatever she wants. Since the meeting room is under renovation, they will talk in his studio. She asks him if this building belongs to him. He answers no, he just rented a few offices, but maybe later he'll buy the whole building when he releases his next music albums. She is surprised, but only slightly. Shai's reaction was very normal. He thought that she would be more interested, or maybe it's because she doesn't trust that he'll release his next albums and buy this building. It won't be easy for her to start, but simply, Shinai was tired. That's why she behaved this way. They arrive at the studio and he asks her if she wants something to drink. She answers that she wants to talk about the collaboration project. She wants to get to the point first. She must review the contract. She begins to read the contract and tells him that she has a concern about the collaboration. She will have to perform live or participate in promotional activities with her face uncovered. He answers that not necessarily. She can continue working as an anonymous artist if she wants. But there is something that he has to make clear to her. The reason why he wants to do this collaboration is not just to have commercial success. He wants people to know Shai's talent. Having said this, she will listen to the demo that Huni prepared. She agrees with what he said. Will it be some tactic, a deal? Or was he considerate with her? It is then that Hunji shows her the demo. Shai listens to the melody of the music and doesn't like it. She asks him to stop. It's supposed that I will be the vocalist, isn't it? He answers yes, and that's why Shai doesn't like it. It's supposed that in the collaboration, the style of music must be a combination of both. She asks him to move. She will tie her hair. She will delete some tracks. Huni says that she should just silence them. It's not necessary to delete them. Shai doesn't care and ends up doing it. Shunai spent time compiling the track almost 3 nights in a row. Her music lacked depth. People not only enjoy her music, but they also like her style. She can't compromise her essence. It's a combination of zone and rock. She doesn't leave aside her style of music. Shai is an interesting artist. A good song will come out of this. She asks Shunai if she wants to have some beer. She says yes. Tonight, she will fix the music. On the other hand, let's go to the main character. Studying the homework was getting complicated. He will take a break. He stretches a little and thinks about the preparations for his next exam. But besides that, he wants to see Shai. His phone suddenly rings. He takes it out and notices that a certain notification came to him from another side. Shiny starts practicing her verse. Someone calls his name. It's the protagonist. He wants to have a musical meeting with her. A new release of Long Afternoon will come out soon. What does he mean by a musical meeting? Basically, both of them will share their opinions about music as if they were both watching a movie. It's the first time she hears that. In high school, once he did something like that with a friend. They listened to both the singer's opinions and the commentator's thoughts. He wants both of them to get together to enjoy the music on April 28th day. That day, he will listen to the music at home. He will have a few drinks to relax. She asks if he was expecting more than anything to drink with her, to which he replies that it's not that, he just wants to listen to the music with her. Although he certainly did want to spend time with her, she becomes happy. Then, he checks his calendar. On April 28th, he has a recording session scheduled for the collaboration. It seems that it will be difficult since she will be busy in the studio in the afternoon. In that case, there is no issue. She will see if she can rearrange her schedule if she has time. The protagonist says, "Don't worry, it was just an impulsive idea. There is no need to force yourself." But even if he says that, the PR's expression is sad like a puppy. It is a little tricky to delay the schedule. Maybe later, they can have a drink. They will simply drink like good friends after he finishes his exams, they both agree. A few days later, the exam ends. He has to submit his homework next week. His friends are having a party this afternoon. They ask if he wants to go. He answers that he will be busy this afternoon. Also, today is the release of Long Afternoon's new song. Whether Shania attends or not, he will listen to the music and enjoy it. The song is released at 4 p.m., but once he finishes his work, he will listen to it at home quietly. He starts working, finishes, goes home, enters his room, and sits down. But he is hungry. He must have dinner first. He orders fried chicken through delivery, and while the chicken is on the way, he takes a bath. He starts thinking about Shai, and somehow he feels lonely. Someone rings the bell. Surely it is the chicken. He leaves the bathroom, opens the door, and it is Shai. He asks her what she is doing here. She looks at his waist and tells him that she came for the musical meeting. The main character thought that she wouldn't come. She replies that she did everything possible to arrive early and not too late. He tells her to come in, but before that she asks why he is only wearing underwear. The main character notices and asks her to wait a moment. He puts on his pants. She came directly to his house without warning. Shania wants to borrow clothes like last time, but before drinking, she wants to shower first. The protagonist agrees. She takes a bath. Meanwhile, he cleans the table. He did not think that Shania would remember his address. That means that from now on she can visit any time. He must keep his room clean daily just in case. Shania asks him for a towel. He brings it immediately. He looks for a towel and hands it to her. He gets a little nervous. He needs to stay calm. He should just think about other things and clear his mind. Shai leaves the bathroom. The main character tells her that the clothes she is wearing are quite big and might fall at any moment. Or maybe he likes them that way. The protagonist jokes and says he didn't have other clothes to give her. In the end, he does end up giving her another set of clothes. Shanae's eyes widened. He asked her how she finished her work so quickly. For that, we go back a few minutes. She was singing. When she finished, the producer told her that the chorus was enough. He would finish the verse and record the mix separately. He just finished reviewing the track. Han-kyun, the drummer of Long Afternoon, mentions that this is the first time he sees Shanae in a hurry. Ji-wong, the bassist, comments that Shai knows what she's doing. She will do it perfectly. She finishes composing her part. It was done. Han-yi congratulates her. They plan to have a party after this, but Shanae can't join. She has something important to do. They can party without her. She leaves the studio. Surely Shanae got a boyfriend, they think. That was everything that happened after the recording. She had some time left. It's interesting. Now, it's time to listen to the new song. She brought whiskey that her uncle gave her. They both drink it. Little by little, they get tipsy. It's time to listen to the music. The song is called Blue Lotus. They put on headphones and play it. They start listening. She had already heard it dozens, even hundreds of times while recording and mixing. It can be tiring, but listening in silence makes her reflect on the thoughts she had while creating the song, the tracks she wanted to arrange, the instruments she chose, the lyrics she wrote from her heart. The mere fact that someone, somewhere in the world, listens to her music fills her with emotion. She wonders about the protagonist's reaction. He suddenly sits up. Maybe he likes it. Or maybe he doesn't understand it. Anything is fine, but it would be nice if he liked it. She looks at him and sees him crying. She, confused, shakes him. She asks what he is thinking. He replies that the song is wonderful. The lyrics made him emotional. It was so personal that it moved him to tears. He asks Shanae what she thinks about it. She says she likes the acoustic guitar, but specifically, she loves the melody. At first, Shanae felt shy talking about her music, but now, she wants to drink and talk all night. She wants to talk and play. Her heart is about to explode. The main character doesn't know what to do. It could be the effect of the alcohol or maybe the music, but for some strange reason, he wants to hug Shai. Maybe these are his real feelings, or who knows. He doesn't have it quite clear. Shai talks about music and some singers. They laugh at some stories and discuss Shai's uncle's musical band. Since she was young, her uncle taught her music. Back then, she listened to modern music. At first, she didn't understand much, but the more she listened, the more she liked it. She was amazed. The voices of those singers were incredible, and that's why she wanted to create music so her voice could be heard hundreds of years from now, and maybe one day even by aliens. She believes that aliens will invade Earth someday. The main character finds this funny, but changing the subject, he asks Shai if she has any songs of her own since he would like to listen to her music. She gets a little nervous and tells him that she doesn't have any yet. She hasn't managed to write a song that she really likes. That's unfortunate. Surely her songs would be great. Instead, she offers to prepare a special drink for him. The main character can't drink any more alcohol. He feels like he has experienced a lot tonight. The new song was amazing and the conversation was fun. Shai asks him if he is asleep. He answers that he is just a little tired from studying that afternoon. Then she lies down on his legs. She says she just wants to rest for a while and write in her star diary. Every time she writes a note about her daily mood, a new star appears in the sky. The main character asks her what she will write today. She gets a little nervous and tells him that she will write that his thighs are as soft as a pillow and that she will hug him as if he were a pillow while he sleeps. He says he will do the same. Shai asks if he is serious or if it's just a joke. The main character asks if she is scared that he is serious. She replies that it's not fear, it's just that he is drunk. It would be better if they both just go to sleep. The protagonist tells her that he is not drunk and really wants to hug her while she sleeps. He asks Shai if she will allow him to do so. She asks if he has the courage to hug her. He can try if he wants, she will not stop him. At that moment, the protagonist leans towards her and both fall to the floor. Shai gets a little nervous. The protagonist has been holding back for a long time. He does not want to treat her carelessly. She understands him and hugs him too. They will both hug each other tonight. After a moment of silence, Shai asks if he is asleep. Yes, the protagonist is asleep. He fell asleep while hugging her. He must be exhausted from studying late at night. She lifts him and throws him onto his bed. He mumbles something and says she made his heart race, but it's unfortunate that he fell asleep right after that. As they had agreed to sleep together, she hugs him while he sleeps. The protagonist has a rather soothing scent. She is going crazy. The aroma of his skin is nice, but she hasn't even told him that she is part of Long Afternoon. She hasn't revealed everything about herself. She is here, hiding like a coward, watching his reaction and enjoying everything about him. She doesn't know if it is right to do something like this. Maybe the person who lacks the courage to be honest is not the protagonist, but her, as she hides her real identity. The next morning, the protagonist wakes up with a headache. He does not know how he ended up in bed. The last thing he remembers is talking to Shai about her uncle's musical band. But honestly, he can't remember everything. What does it matter? It is better to keep sleeping. Surely Shai went home. For some strange reason, he feels that the blanket is hard. Did she put something inside? At that moment, Shai wakes up, scaring him to death. She asks if he slept well last night. The protagonist cannot believe that he slept in the same bed with Shai. He just hopes that he didn't do anything crazy that night. A few minutes later, they both woke up. Shai dried her hair while the protagonist prepared ramen. He wondered to himself if he really slept with Shinai last night in the same bed. Surely he must have done something weird while he was drunk. That's what he wondered. Lee Jun asked him what was wrong. She wanted to know his schedule today to see if he'd be busy. He answered that he was going to work today. The rest of the day he'd be home checking some homework. That was good then. The protagonist thought she could rest a little. Yesterday, she looked so tired. First, she'd eat ramen before going to work. Today, she had work at 1, so why not stay at his house until then? He wouldn't mind if she stayed. She asked him if he wanted to spend more time with her. The protagonist answered that it wasn't because of that, but it could be very tiring to return home and then go out again. She didn't mind. She should go back to her house and relax. Also, she needed to change clothes. That didn't mean she didn't like the protagonist's house. It was just that her house was closer to the studio. If it was closer, he should tell her that she could come whenever she wanted. But after thinking about that, he took it back. Shinai couldn't come here for any reason since he didn't have anything of hers. Shinai wanted to ask him something. Did he usually do some kind of exercise? He answered that he only exercised at home on his days off. Sometimes he went jogging in the mornings. He used to belong to an athletics club. Knowing this, she already expected that. The protagonist wanted to know why, she asked. She answered that she felt like Lee Jun's body was in good shape. She knew that because she hugged him last night. She assumed that he had broad shoulders when he wore clothes, but when she hugged him, she could feel that his body was solid and his arms were strong. Lee Jun asked her if he hugged her too. Didn't he remember? Yesterday, he suddenly hugged her and told her that he was holding back the urge to do this. He was stupefied. He wanted to think that that was a lie. Maybe she was just joking. Shai answered no. What she told him was true. He didn't remember when he hugged her. Suddenly, he did it quite hard and she thought that she wouldn't be able to sleep. But then, the protagonist fell asleep, so she just fell asleep next to him. He apologized, saying he must have been really drunk. She replied that it was nothing. She enjoyed it too. That's right, she enjoyed it. It had been a long time since she hugged someone tightly, so she learned something new. That people's bodies were tougher than she thought. He shouldn't worry too much about it. It just meant that everything was okay for now. Moments later, while some old people jogged through the park, the protagonist quickly passed by. He had been studying a lot lately and barely exercised. He was probably out of shape. He was just doing this for his health and fitness. It wasn't like he was trying to impress Shai. But thinking about her, she did like him being in shape. Of course, he must feel a lot cooler. One more lap and then he would go home to work on his upper body with some push-ups. Meanwhile, at Shai's work, she was drawing on her tablet. The character looked a bit like Lee Jun. Maybe she'd post it on her Instagram later. At that moment, Kum the guitarist surprised her. Why was he acting like that? Was she watching something dirty on her tablet? She told him that she didn't watch that kind of thing. But besides that, she asked him what he was doing there. Kum told her that another team came up and booked the place at 3 in the afternoon. Changing the subject, Shai told him that last night they got drunk with Huni. He asked her if they went out after she left. They were drinking until dawn. They drank expensive things and Huni paid the bill. She asked him if he got closer to Huni. Kum answered yes. They also met each other's bands, but before going home, they had a little chat. Sune asked her if she wanted to do a live clip of the collaboration. In other words, a live compilation movie, like a music video with multiple cameras. In that case, she could handle the editing or the direction of the camera and do it live. Hyunji wanted to try it, but before making the decision, she first had to consult with Shai. Upon hearing this, she mentioned that it was expected. Shunji didn't just want to pursue music production, but if she could find some courage and make some music projects over and over again, Lee Jun would have a new expression on his face. First, she'd think about it. Maybe she could do it without trying to involve her face. Later, the protagonist's muscles hurt a lot from exercising so much. He shouldn't have rushed his training. After all, today was a full day. He had breakfast with Shai, did a quick workout, finished his homework, and listened to Loon Afternoon's new song. He arrived at work and met the other cafeteria worker. Lee Jun was expecting to meet his boss, but it was strange that she wasn't there anymore. Did she go shopping? He went to storage and put on his summer uniform. It was time to change shifts. Although he would tell the boss first, his co-worker told him that the boss wouldn't be able to work tonight. She called in sick an hour ago. The protagonist asked her how it happened. She told him that she only seemed to have a bad cold. She started with chills when she got to work and then had to go to the hospital. The protagonist, knowing this, thought of calling her later. Then it was time to work. It must have been very hard to work alone. That's why she would stay. It would be hard if the protagonist worked alone. Her name was Shinju. She was 23 years old. She worked late shifts and was a student on vacation. She would help the protagonist just for today. She would make the deliveries to the clients and prepare their drinks. In the meantime, the protagonist called his boss to find out how she was. She told him that it wasn't a big deal. She was just in the hospital with intravenous fluids because she was overloaded with work. It was probably because she drank too much at night while watching a drama. She asked him if he could do the work himself or if he needed an assistant. Lee Jun told her that Shinju said she would stay and help him this afternoon. That meant that right now she was working 2 shifts. Lee Jun had even told her that, but since she was a student on vacation who did nothing during the day, there was no problem with that. The boss would pay her overtime, she had no problem with that. But since she finished her shift, the protagonist would be in charge of closing the place. Meanwhile, his boss would do some tests and return home. The protagonist asked her to rest. He was glad that he told her that she could work until the night to pay her overtime and also not to overwork herself. It was a little difficult, but he hoped to work with her properly today. There were many clients in the afternoon. It wouldn't be easy to do this alone. Shinju would have to handle it. Fortunately, Shinju was a smart person. She wouldn't be clumsy at work. For now, he would take out the trash cans and receive some orders. But before he left, Shinju told him they were in trouble. He doesn't understand what is happening. Someone ordered a delivery order of 15 drinks and sandwiches. He needs the help of the protagonist. An order like that at this time is quite unusual. Shinjo tells him that all the drinks they ordered are different, and it is driving her crazy. The protagonist will make the sandwiches. Shinjo will be in charge of making the drinks. Many things have happened to our protagonist today, and he doesn't understand why in moments like this it is so complicated for him, but still he is glad that Shinjo stayed. He was worried about her just for being working here for 2 months, but she seems to be good at her job and is responsible, so he can trust her at that moment. Shinjo tells the protagonist that the mixer was not working. A few hours later, they finish with the work. Today was a pretty hard day. The number of customers in the room has increased as the days go by. They make long shifts. Shinjo, before leaving, tells the protagonist that he will be first. Lei Jun mentions to him to be careful when returning home. It is not necessary to worry about her since her house is in front of the store. She hopes to see him tomorrow. The protagonist wishes her good night. She leaves the store. Meanwhile, Lei Jun prepares for the closing of the store, and while doing that, he starts to think a little. He wants to know something about her. How old is Shinai? He never asked her age. He is curious to know. When he reaches the tracks, she tells him that she is 39 years old. That is quite old. He wants to think that it is a joke, but he does not know what to answer. He thinks that maybe it is a lie. Of course, it is a lie. Obviously, she is lying. Really? He thought that she was 39 years old. Lu Jun was just surprised in case it was real. It has been a long time. Then how old is she really? Is it a secret? She answers that it is not a secret. Why? Suddenly is he curious about that? Does he want to investigate to know if she is suspicious? The protagonist answers that it is none of that. Then why is she curious? She does not know her age either, but maybe that matters. Lee Jun, hearing this, mentions that it doesn't matter anymore. He just asked the wrong thing. It seems that she was a little rude when she answered. She was just trying to annoy him a little, but okay then. She's going to tell him that she wants him to promise her one thing from now on. When he calls her by her first name, it must go together with the word Miss. That's why she didn't tell him her age, just so that he would call her that way. He thought it would be a little more uncomfortable. Shai likes to be called Miss. She feels like she's being treated like an adult, and it doesn't sound too much like a guest. Lei Jun asks her if it's some kind of role-playing game. She tells him that it's not that. She simply likes it when he calls her Miss. Shai is a little weird, but she likes it, so from now on he will call her that since it's not that difficult. Then how old is she? Is she the same age as him? Shai tells him that she is 21 years old. Our protagonist, on the other hand, is 25 years old. That's ridiculous, isn't it? She is supposed to be a professional. She has to be at least 22 years old when she graduates from college. How can she be that old? She tells him that she didn't go to college. She got a job when she came of age. If he doesn't believe her, she can show him her ID. Why did he ask her at the beginning if she still went to college? That's because she got into the job side first, and that's why he asked. She's still young enough to make whiskey bombs. She learned it from her uncle. The next train is arriving. In any case, the protagonist just made a promise. He'll keep calling her by her name like he always has. He is waiting for Uncle Lei Jun to keep his promise. Shanae talks like an adult and seems experienced. He thought she'd be older or his own age, but it turns out she's quite cunning. The next day at the cafe, Boss Yu complains about how tired she feels after a day off from work. Maybe tomorrow she'll get a massage before coming to work. Lu Jun asks her why she doesn't take the day off. She answers that if she took a few days off, she'd lose money. The protagonist tells her that she'll probably die thinking about money. His boss answers that she doesn't care about money. It's scarier than death. The protagonist says that's true, but by the way, Lei Jun asks him what he thinks of Shinjo. She's only been working here for 2 months, and she's good at her job. The protagonist mentions that's true. She has a cheerful personality, is good at serving customers, and is very empathetic. But the only flaw she has is that she hasn't memorized all the recipes yet. The boss answers that that can't be helped because she hired her quickly. Anyway, his boss is glad that Lei Jun was there. Without him, she couldn't be calm. He's the only part-time person she can trust with the cafe. Lei Jun is embarrassed by what his boss said, so suddenly he changes the subject. She asks if he's going to be off on his next day off. The protagonist answers that he doesn't have much to do the next day, so they should go get some meat. Lei Jun asks her why so suddenly. His boss suddenly tells him that it's her way of thanking him. Yesterday he suffered a lot because of her. If that's the case, why doesn't he thank him with cash? His boss tells him that she has already given him all his pay. The protagonist answers that the more cash, the better. His boss calls him an ungrateful bastard. She wants them both to have some drinks, besides she wants to eat meat. Lejun tells her that he can eat the meat at his house. His boss tells him that she wants to go to a restaurant. Besides, it would be pathetic to go alone to eat meat. Alone, it's so depressing. Being alone at home, eating meat, then washing dishes, it's just a pain. That's why she wants them both to go eat together. She asks him if he wants to. The protagonist thinks about it. Since he has some free time, maybe he can. Then he asks her what day they can meet, but he notices that his boss is looking away. He asks her what's wrong. His boss asks him to stay at the counter for a second. On one of the tables, Haye was listening to the music that she composed with Shai. He mentions that this collaboration song, the version mixed by his studio engineer, is more complete in general. But the version mixed by Shai herself is not bad. It's a little rough, but each instrument has its own unique touch. The retro feel of Long Afternoon and its unique sense of space. He starts to think about what he should do. He seriously loves both versions, so it's hard to decide. He will have to go back to the studio and listen to both versions again on her monitors. Suddenly, he hears the sound of a photo. Someone was taking secret photos. Knowing that they were taking photos of her secretly, he mentions that it's not the first time that it happens to her, but he's embarrassed that they do it here. It's been happening for a while, and it's getting worse. He prefers that people lash out and ask him for a photo. Or maybe they don't want to take a photo with him, but they're interested in someone's private life. Well, it doesn't matter. He doesn't want to cause problems for this cafe, so for the moment, he must leave now. At that moment, the boss notices the boy taking photos of Yanji. He is not supposed to film other customers. Yanji notices this action. The guy in the cap replies that he wasn't doing it. How should he know that this man is on TV and is famous? The boss tells him that whether he's famous or not, everyone who enters this cafe is a customer. He asks him to please stop doing that. The guy in the cap insists that he is also a customer. How can a cafe worker talk to a customer like that? The boss knows that the guy in the cap hasn't ordered anything yet. Normally, she doesn't say anything to people who sit down without ordering, but she can't stand seeing someone bother other customers. He either orders a drink or does her the favor of leaving. The guy in the cap, feeling intimidated, threatens to destroy this place online. He will give them a bad review on all the social networks and put her out of business. The boss wishes him good luck and says goodbye. Junjae apologizes to the boss, saying he is sorry for causing her problems. The boss replies, "Don't worry. There's always a lot of noise in the cafe. It's part of the business, so you shouldn't worry." She waits for Henny to return again. No matter if he's famous or not, she knows that he likes the cappuccinos from this coffee shop. Henjae answers, "Yes, I love them. This is the best cappuccino." He finishes his drink and leaves. That was very annoying. Celebrities must find it frustrating to keep getting into trouble. Leon congratulates his boss, saying she kept her regular customer and got rid of the annoying person. "It's simply great," he says. The boss mentions, "That's not true. She shouldn't limit herself to just observing, since doing so would make her life miserable." Then, she asks if he wants to eat meat or not. She wants to try some beef. The protagonist sighs and answers, "Yes, I want us both to go eat." He can't wait for that day to come. They will meet at 7 the next day. Leon waits while looking at his phone. He mentions that it's almost time for summer internships. He hasn't visited any company yet. Maybe he will have to wait a little longer. Now that he thinks about it, he doesn't know why he overthinks it. It's not urgent. He shouldn't put too much pressure on himself. The job search is going according to plan. Unless he gets exhausted, the effort will certainly pay off. First, he listens to Long Afternoon, the new song he loves. It's relaxing, but something feels off. When entering the platform, he realizes something. In the list of Cindy's music recommendations on the Spotify app, the cover of the Long Afternoon album is among the top 40, or at least that's how he sees it. At that moment, the boss notices that the protagonist arrived early, but besides the boss, she is accompanied by Shinjo. He didn't know she would come. His boss tells him that Shinjo also worked hard that day, so she should eat some meat. She greets Luan. He also greets Shinjo. The time has come for them to have a meat party. Today's goal is to eat an entire beef. It's been a long time since they ate well, so they won't go home until they finish it. Shinjo takes the protagonist by the arm, telling Leon to go together at once. She hasn't eaten beef in a long time either. The protagonist answers yes, but he doesn't know why she suddenly held his arm. Somehow, it feels strange. Definitely today he's just gonna eat beef. In another scene, we see Shai composing music. She starts to figure out how her next song should sound. For some reason, it doesn't sound right. Is it the rhythm, or is it because she's hungry? Maybe she's going to go get some meat. Alright, that's a wrap for this chapter. If you want to see what happens next, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Don't miss out. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.